There we go. So, number one, we have two instance variables, description and int. Are they private or public?
Private.
Private, very good. Private string description and private integer rating. I slept on my wrist wrong a few nights ago and injured it, and now it's hurts to steer and stuff. It's terrible. Hopefully it gets better and I'm not just slowly falling apart towards old age. I'm not sure the exact point at which my body will stop healing. I'm not sure if I'm there yet, I've heard, once you're past your mid-30s, it's all downhill all the way. So.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah. So, characteristic. Very simple. Insert constructor. Bing, bang, boom. Done. There's your constructor. Next, is valid. Is valid is private or public?
Private.
Private. Return value is?
Boolean.
Boolean. Takes
Int.
rating, integer rating. So, definition. Valid if in the range 1 to 10. Now, I'm sure that many of you will have completed this in the following fashion. If rating is greater than or equal to 1, and rating is less than or equal to 10, return true, else return false. Something like that, right?
Yep.
You want to see a trick? This is 3 lines too many.
You hover over the if.
You can just return the condition.
I think if you hover over the if, it tells you that.
Yeah.
Twice yellow. So, the whole purpose of an if expression is to select between 2 different outcomes. If the true branch is only returning true, and the false branch is only returning false, what you're actually returning is the calculated results of the if statement, Boolean expression, guard, condition, whatever you want to call it. This guy. So you can just return that directly. Boom! Just like that. Wah! Short is nice and easy. So, next, set rating, get description. So, what's absent? What are we missing from the getters? Or the setters, I'm sorry. What's missing from the setters?
Set description.
We cannot set description. Very good. So, we generate getter for both. We generate a setter for rating only. There we go. So, next, get compatibility. Although I don't think we should do get compatibility next. I think we should do is match next. Is match is used by compatibility, so, I always encourage students, work from the bottom up, start with the simpler things, get those definitions in, and then build yourself up. Because if you go top down,
editors like this will complain at you for having a bunch of missing methods, and you can't like test as you go. So bottom up is preferred, I think, but you guys will find your own way of doing things. So let's do isMatch. isMatch is private or public?
According to UML, it's private.
It is private in UML. Very good. Private returns.
Boolean.
Boolean isMatch. So let's take a look at the UML here for a moment. This was a sticking point for a number of people. We have one argument. What is the type?
Other.
No. Characteristic. Remember, your classes are also data types. So, other, we have an input called other of type characteristic. The purpose of this thing is to see if the description of one object and another are the same. So, if this dot description dot equals other dot description, return true, else return false. So,
Are we going to use the shortcut?
we are definitely. So, I just wanted to point out that this happens twice. Hey look folks, it's the same bloody thing again. There you go. Now, technically speaking, this shouldn't work. Why? I'm actually baffled that I'm not getting an error here. Yes?
Dot equals is already defined for it, but you haven't defined it elsewhere.
Well, description is of type string.
Oh.
So string dot equals is defined. That's not the error.
Not in all the parentheses.
That's fine. I mean, an extra set of parentheses isn't going to hurt. Yes?
It's the same description.
Well,
We haven't identified that it's true.
this dot description
I guess.
is the description attached to this object.
Yeah.
Other dot description is the description variable attached to the other object.
Yeah.
Where's the other?
Where is that?
Where's the other?
So it's defined slightly above, right here.
So the description and the other object are the same thing?
Well, they're not because they're two different objects,
Yeah.
right? This and other are two different objects.
Oh.
There is an error here.
In which line? Second?
So this description is the one in the characteristic constructor and the other description is just the one we defined in the beginning?
It's the one being passed in as an argument.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yes?
I was just asking in which line is the other? This return one?
Other is just like, we receive into this method a reference to another characteristic object. That is that other. So here's a question. Is description private or public?
It's private.
Right? So how am I able to access it here?
Leave other.
Big,
Other than all.
yeah.
This should be get description.
Oh.
Oh.
Because it's private.
But can't we accept the description within the same class? Like the private.
Yeah, but not, no, it's not the same class, it's the same object. Right? Public versus private restricts things to only something inside of this object can access it. Not, other objects of the same class should not be able to access other objects' private members.
So we can't access the private attributes from another objects, right?
Right. Let me illustrate. So,
Okay.
two objects. X is 5, X is 7. Both of them are private, right? A and B.
So we get
A should not be able to access B's private members, and the same here, because it's not part of the same object, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so there we go. Anyway, so good. We've got is match. Now we just need get compatibility. Get compatibility returns. Wait, no. Public or private?
Public,
Public. Return type?
double,
Double. Name? Get
Get
compatibility.
characteristic other.
Yes. Characteristic other. Okay. There we go. So, if is match is false, we return 0. Otherwise, we return the result of that expression. So, if not is match, not this dot is match, other, return 0.0. Else, return 1 minus 81. This string should be. Actually, you know what? R1 in this case being this dot rating, R2 being other dot get rating. No? And it also wants a 2 string. QED, quite easily done.
Get rating.
What are you complaining about now? Ah, integer division. Yes. True. Let's make this a flute. And there we go. Ta-ra! Question?
Can we change default settings of to string? Can we format like the default?
Yeah, sure. Yep, we can change the behavior of toString.
Like, so that it always like shows in the format that we want. Like
Yeah, of
the
course.
default setting.
Yep. Just do something like, I don't know. Description. Gesundheit. Double Gesundheit.
So we have to manually change it like every time we want to.
Yep. It's yours. The world is your oyster. You by no means have to keep the default.
Sorry,
You don't have to keep the default by any means.
but we can't change it like for every item like
Oh,
by default like.
You can't change this,
Okay.
otherwise Java won't recognize it as default string conversion method.
No, I mean to say like, since, in the italics, they have a default formatting, right? Can we change the default formatting for the two strings so that whenever we,
Oh, I see, like in the IntelliJ settings? Possibly, I'm not sure how to do that, but, I could imagine that'd be the sort of thing you could do. Yeah, probably change that. Okay. Good. All right. Secondary exercise. Part B. Or C. There we go. Expand the definition of characteristic from exercise 1 to add an overloaded constructor and an overloaded method. This is where rating default equals 5 comes in, if you didn't do that already. Set rating is also overloaded. The one with no parameters sets the rating to a random integer between 0 and 10. I should read 1 and 10. The constructor is overloaded. The new one takes a description, not an initial rating, and uses the new set rating method to assign a random integer. These seem somewhat contradictory. Write a main method that defines two characteristics and outputs the compatibility. Make sure you test all possibilities. Matches, doesn't match, try to set bad ratings, setting random ratings, etc. So, please take the next 10 minutes. Create the overloaded set rating, create the overloaded constructor, and play around with it a little bit in a main method. Go! Oh yeah, I can put the code up. What part? Is this good?
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody wants me to scroll at any point, just let me know and I'll be happy to. Well, you find all of this in a class name.
So does this have to be?
Yeah, the class name is characteristic.
Oh, okay.
You'll also have to change the name of the file.
Okay.
It's actually a syntax error in Java to do otherwise. It depends on what you mean by code. If it's just declarations, those can go outside. They make them instance variables of the class. But something like if statements are loose. Oh, like
so breakup was interesting. So the show that we put in the breakup should be in a sub method instead of main method, or should it be
inside the main class, you mean? Yeah, you're welcome to use methods inside your main class, absolutely.
but if the end could it be outside of those could it be like the line of code in the method, or should it have to be good sub methods so that it could
Well, it's generally better if you're doing a bunch of repeated operations that in a function anyway. So, like it's not a requirement, especially at this stage, but yeah, no, it makes your code look a lot better, nicer, you know, for example, I think that some people did on the Arkanoid game project. You had to enter in a bunch of, you know, you had to do a bunch of like scanning
with different ranges, right? Some people took that, put it inside of a method, you know, and then, you know, here's the description, upper limit, or lower limit, upper limit, you know, and then, you know, that ended up working a lot better because, like, your inclination is to use that function even if you, like, don't have to because it saves you work. So things like, you know, a lot of people got dinged because I could add negative scores, right? Because they weren't doing bounds checking around 0 for like score and high score and level. If you had written that method, you would be inclined to use it, which means you would have been forced to think about what the lower bound for that should have been. Obviously 0. So, you know, in that way, it sort of helps you code better when you put things in functions like that. So yeah, totally encourage it. Yeah.
Professor.
Right, it's because we have to
It's because there's a mismatch between your constructor name and your class name. So just rename it to characteristic.
Okay,
We
it
already
was
know.
overload there because the class name was overload, so here this would be
So
public characteristic.
because we already have a constructor, so we just have to do this part,
Yeah,
print
so-
public overload.
Yeah, you want to produce something like that, but, you know, the
With the
source of that,
characteristic, yeah.
yeah,
I
you
get
have to
that.
use the right class name. Sorry, the which operator?
The square.
Oh, because it's not just for integers, you have to do other dot.
Oh, to where? Oh, it's actually, it's math dot to
Oh,
That's where.
Yeah. Or squirt, yeah, SQRT, yeah.
and it's dot.
Other dot
so
rating,
it's
I think.
the
Other
dot,
dot rating.
so it's delta R times.
Because it is
delta.
match.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my, like,
Okay.
that's my poor man's
So if you
squaring.
want to use that, you have to dot how or?
Yeah, I'll show you how. See, math.pow is a much more general function. Delta R and then to the power of 2, right? But like this will do any number there, you know? For something like this, it's like math.pow delta R comma 2. For something like this, like that's as much writing as the other way, you know? If all you're doing is squaring, you might as well just multiply it against itself. But, you know, if you wanted to do to the power of 6, I would recommend that function. Question?
उसके बाद मैथ डॉट पावर डेल्टा इज पावर टू 2 डेल्टा और कॉमा पावर
Oh. You got a closing curly brace there, so I thought this was inside that. It's always something like that, you know? All right. Honestly, I don't know like whether you folks realized this or not, but like you have chosen a profession where one character in a file can completely ruin your afternoon, you know? But, you know, you chose computers, so here we are. All right, let's do this. So, number 1, overloading characteristic. Well, actually, again, it kind of makes sense to do the other one first. So let's do the other one first. Let us overload set rating. Public void set rating. Accepting 0 arguments. Now, we wish to set the rating to a value between 0 and 10. Rating is equal to math.random. There are other ways of doing this, but this is the way I'm doing it. Math.random times 11
cast as int. Now, why did I say times 11 and not 10?
And I said this before the rest of it, this way isn't the rest of the code getting output or anything.
Anybody?
Then we got a couple breaks in here.
Random value, yes. Math.random returns a value between 0 and 1 exclusive. It will never actually return 1 exactly. The integer conversion function is a truncation function. So it will throw out the entire tail, not round it. So, if I generate, using this, 10.99999, after this casting, I will have 10. And this generates numbers between those two numbers with equal probability. Does that make sense? Because if you're generating numbers and you can generate from 0 to 10 inclusive, you are actually generating 11 different numbers. Right? Does that make sense? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers, right? Question?
Could you explain what's the reason for the random function?
What's the which?
What is the reason for the random function?
So, math.random generates in a range between 0 and 1 exclusive as a double, right? So, yeah. So I'm multiplying it by 11, right? So that means I have a range between 0 and 11 exclusive, right? Which means my maximum value I'm generating will be something like 10.999999. Once we pass to int, that gets chopped off, we result in 10. Make sense? Good. So, that's set rating. We want a second constructor, public characteristic, taking only description, string description. This dot description is equal to description, but this dot rating is equal to what? That random number, right? Now, do we repeat the random number generation here?
No.
No! We call the method we just wrote, that was the whole point. Set, or actually we don't even have to do that. Set rating with no arguments. Right? Because it's doing the assignment itself. Yeah? Make sense? Any questions? I can see people are kind of still chewing on it.
What about the default rating ID of the
Yeah, I think that's actually contradictory. Like, the business with randomly generating the number actually contradicts that requirement, so the requirements themselves are wrong, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm sorry. There's only so much I can do. So, good. Questions? All right. 10-minute break, then we will resume class. You guys haven't had a break yet.
Yeah.
So, all right. I hereby decree a 10-minute break. Class will resume at 3.
3:05.
No, 3. In fact, since you said that, 2:59. Go.
Maybe, maybe.